Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human, here at Vida Verde, and my guest this week is the incredible Louis Cole. Louis is a DJ and innovative content creator known for his wildly successful YouTube channel, Fun for Louis. He's a father and a husband, currently building their eco house just across the street in the Alegria village. Eco Village. We're gonna have a great conversation. Louis is always bringing great stuff to the table. We hope you enjoy. This episode of La Vida Verde Podcast is sponsored by the Alegria Kajukembo Martial Arts Club, offering core training in Kajukembo with guest instructors in Kung Fu, Aikido, Capoeira, and more. Weekly classes Monday through Wednesday, open to all students in the Machuca Valley. Contact Sensei Nzinga for more information. +1 510 316 1424. Hey friends, this is Matthew Human with one more quick announcement. If you're on the west coast of the United States in Washington, Oregon, or California, don't miss your chance to see me live on my Simple Ways tour. We'll be heading out there July 16th through August 18th with a bunch of dates. Come see us. We'll be telling stories and singing songs about Costa Rica and all the good things, all your favorites. Go to matthewhuman.com/tour for more details. And we'll see you there. Now back to our show. Louis Cole, welcome to La Vida Verde Podcast,
Thanks
brother.
For having me, man. It's good to be here.
It's very good to have you here. So you were playing last night. You were DJing down the road in Ecovilla.
Got a last minute invite, and that's why my voice is a bit croaky this morning, because I was trying to talk over the loud music of the party.
I love that when you DJ actually, because you always play this interesting. It's eclectic, very eclectic, and but always with a good beat.
It's a mix. It's a mix of stuff.
Yeah. And you even brought down these cool headphones that are what are they?
Silent disco.
Yeah, silent disco. One time you were DJing over
that was sick.
Kristen and Sia's, and I live maybe I don't know, half a kilometer, not even half a kilometer away.
But it's through the jungle. You wouldn't expect it to work.
I walked all the way here with the headphones on, listening to your mix. It was, and I was laying in bed in my bed right here.
I love it.
So cool. Well, and you're here visiting because you're checking out your house build.
Yeah. So we've got a house that we're building. We came here at the beginning of the year, but we couldn't get the building started in time. And everyone recommended I come back during the build process just to double check on everything. And because we're integrating our school bus into the building, I had to move that, get it started, position it. But I am so stoked right now. I'm working on things, I'm seeing the progress, and man, I'm just loving it.
You're doing some of your own welding even.
Yeah. So there's some stairs that I'm building, and I've just angle grinded the side of the bus to build a new door. Doing a bit of carpentry,
nice.
But yeah, that's my project. I don't know how to do foundations, and they're doing all the rebar for the concrete pillars. I can't really get involved with the house at the moment until later. So for me, the bus is the project.
You're gonna do finish work.
Yeah, I'd love to do some painting and carpentry and maybe a bit of electrics if I'm allowed. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Maybe some basic stuff.
Yeah, of course. And that's so cool. So and you guys are currently based you're between here and London.
Yeah. So
London,
Raya, my wife, and our little son Neo, who's 2 now, and we're expecting a daughter in 6 weeks. So we decided to go back to the
6 weeks.
Yeah. So we decided to go back to the UK for the birth and the nesting phase, and then when she's 5 months old, we're moving here. We're ending our lease in the UK. I mean, we'll still be traveling in and out,
visiting family
until we can get resident visa and stuff. But we're going to be this is going to be our main home base.
Yeah.
Because for a while we were struggling with this living in 2 places, having 2 home bases. Even coming here now, it's weird. It's I'm stepping into this alternate reality of my life. I go back to the UK, I've got a car, we've got a house, we've got our belongings. and it's a group of friends, and then I jump back here and I'm like, whoa, like this is also my home. I've got a group of friends. I've got a build, we've got our car and building. It's like it honestly is like a parallel universe. But it's so good to be back.
Yeah, I remember that feeling.
Yeah.
And I had also a long transition, a longer transition even. Like, I'm amazed when I see people that are like full jumping in, because it took me like 10 years of going back.
I mean, we optimistically, when we first drove our school bus down here, so we were living in the school bus.
You drove the school bus down from the US.
Yeah, we were living in it for like a year or so in the US, and then we drove it down. It took us 3 months to get down to Costa Rica. There's some wild stories I can tell you from that trip. But we optimistically thought, okay, we're going to arrive, and that's it. We have arrived in Costa Rica, and that's where we're going to live. And then when rainy season kicked in, so we got married just after that. Then rainy season kicked in a few months later. And Raya was like, and we were in the school bus, so there's nowhere to like. It's just very claustrophobic when it's just raining.
Was she pregnant at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
So she was like, let's go home for the summer and like get out of this rainy season. Well, not go home, but let's go back to the UK. Yeah. We can travel a bit.
Sure.
So we went back to the UK. We started doing van life, and that summer we got pregnant. And then we were like, oh man, we're gonna have to rethink, because we can't like have a baby and raise it in a school bus. So then we were like, okay, let's rent in the UK whilst we're building in Costa Rica. And that's what we've been doing the last like couple of years.
But you're planning to move here full time.
Yeah, man.
That's exciting.
I love it.
That's what we want. I mean, that's community. It's like, I feel like we were talking before when you first got here, like, what's this place going to look like in 5 years?
Yeah.
We live in, for those of you who don't know, I imagine many of you follow this podcast and follow Louis and his channels, but like, we live in a place where it's a bunch of eco-villages that are, I'm in Taquatal, Colectivo, he's in Alegria Village, there's La Ecovilla last night, but we're all like kind of one community. There's Ecovilla San Mateo, which is like, hasn't even started building yet. That's 280 lots. And, not to mention, like, the local communities around here that existed, La Libertad, San Mateo, Maderal.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, growing, but it's really attracting a vibe of people that are intentional about trying to do something in a better way.
Yeah.
Is that what attracted you here? What attracted you to Alegria?
Yeah, I mean, we first heard about it at this festival we came to called Envision. Stephen Brooks, who is instrumental in, Ecovilla and Alegria and stuff.
We've had Stephen on the podcast.
He just really sold it to us as like this idea of like what could community look like? What could a village look like if you could start from scratch, if you could reinvent what it looks like? And also, to be honest, it's actually going back to probably more the roots of what, community and villages have always looked like. But I think in the modern age, we're very disconnected from one another. We're not eating healthy. I'm just generalizing here, but like in the Western world, like we build big walls. I was saying to Human, like like where we lived in LA, it was weird. It was like big 10-foot walls with barbed wire. But anyway, me and Raya have always been attracted to community living. I mean, even before that, I grew up, living in community houses. So I think when Stephen was painting this picture, growing, fruits dripping off the trees, perennial planting.
He sells it well.
I was like, oh yeah, this sounds sick. So then we came to Alegria for like this. It was like an open day, basically, like a meal. We heard a bit about the vision of the village. And then that was the beginning of 2020. COVID hit. The world went mental. And then me and Raya were like, we should speed up this timeline of like wanting to find a place in nature and community to live. And then our good friends, Kristen and Sia, who you've also had on the podcast.
Hopscotch the Globe.
They also are YouTubers like myself and Raya. And they came to that same meal and they ended up buying an Alegria before us. And then they were like, just do it. And then Raya was like really excited, very enthusiastic. And she was the one out of the two of us that just made the decision. She's like, we're buying. maybe that documentary had come out, like that doc series with
Zac
Efron had come
Down
out.
to Earth.
Yeah. So I think that has come out as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd already been here, and then we bought a lot end of 2020 without seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just saw a video, and a few people were like, "It's the best lot," and we're like,
"It's a great lot,"
and it's next door to Kristen and Sia.
It's next door to Kristen and Sia. It's right up the road from Human and Finca Vida Verde. It's perfect.
And now I'm seeing it with the house is being built. And it's coming together, and the next phase when we get back here will be like starting to landscape. Imagine like, okay, where are we going to plant everything?
I'm going to help you with that.
Oh yeah,
we're talking a little bit about that. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about before, like, well, and I want to get back into Alegria, but like I want to know, who is Louis Cole? Obviously, some people, many of your fans know you from YouTube, but who was Louis Cole before YouTube, and what got you into like doing YouTube?
There's many chapters. There's many chapters in my life. I'll try and do like a bit of a summary. So
yeah, summarize.
Okay, so grew up in a great family, and I grew up in church as well, and I think that set a standard of like community. Now that community is focused around Christianity and stuff, but I think just that deep community, and like honestly, I really valued growing up in that. And it made me, it set like a high standard for the rest of my life. I was like, okay, I want this level of community in my life. It doesn't need to be church community, but that kind of connection, you know? So really went through an experimental phase in my 20s where I was like dismantling everything I'd learned about the world, and probably about like religion and faith as well. But like really wanted to test like, okay, what is success, happiness? What do I need? I've been told that I need. So I was like, started living in my van, started living on minimal money, thinking, why am I pursuing this career path to go to university, to get in debt, to go to get a job, a 9 to 5, you know, all that stuff.
What was the plan? What was your original like?
Oh, I'd looked at like interior design. I wanted to be a graphic designer.
Right, because I think you told me when you were a kid, you like turned your bedroom into like
a jungle.
A jungle.
Because I wanted to live in the jungle.
I remember you telling me that.
That was like manifesting. So yeah, as a kid, my parents were very supportive of like my creativity, so they actually let me paint murals in the living room as well. So I painted my bedroom. My dad's very creative, so we built this like waterfall in my bedroom. I had like an iguana like living in my bedroom, like trees, and I got on TV because of it. Like, so when I was 12, 13, 14, I was like, I did a few TV shows. So that's my first like probably like, you know,
delving into the media.
Yeah, like experience of some level of fame or whatever. Short-lived. But anyway, so in my 20s, I started after I did a couple years doing like a standard job in an office, doing like, it was a fun job, like 3D animation. But then I was like, I'm more passionate about like community work and like helping young people and like doing stuff that matters, because I just wasn't that excited about building my own career, my own wealth. So I stepped away from that, moved into my van, had this dream to buy a double-decker bus. And I was like, I'm going to live in a double-decker bus and I'm going to do a mobile.
One of those ones that like tours around London.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a mobile community centre in the bus. That was my dream.
Mobile community center.
So, and
did you do it?
And a music studio. Yeah.
Amazing.
So a few years later, I was traveling. I was living on nothing. Like I was literally like, we'd go somewhere and I'd ask everyone I was driving around. I was like, oh, can you just give me like $1, $1? Yeah, everything. It was like, so I was living and I was eating terrible, like just cans of food. But I was so happy. And I was like, I think at that point I realized money doesn't bring happiness. I mean, it's a phrase everyone says, but I really, truly feel like that has set a level of reassurance for me in my life that if everything falls apart and we lose all our income, we lose everything. And maybe there's some, knowing I've got some support structure around me as well is helpful. But I also know that like living with barely anything, it is possible. I mean, definitely when you're single, maybe as a family, it'd be more difficult, but you don't need a lot to be happy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, you're absolutely right, bro. Community, at the end of the day, like if, like I think about it in terms of like, I mean, one of the things I think one of the values that does bind all of us here in the valley is food.
Yeah.
And growing our own food and growing a lot of it in case something, who knows, like COVID was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, what happens when that grocery, like, we're like, I feel like society is always just one glitch, one like AI takeover away from everything shutting down and like all of us going, holy crap, like, what do we do now?
Do you know what the funny thing is? Okay, so everything's getting bought up. The supermarket shelves are emptying during COVID. And
toilet paper. No toilet paper anywhere.
Raya buys huge bags of rice and beans. Clever.
Yeah, she's.
And all I wanted, I was like, I'm buying like 10 bunches of bananas. Like, I was like, I need fruit.
Did you freeze them? Hopefully.
I don't know what. I mean, probably not. I know they're going to go off in like a week. But I was just like worried I wasn't going to have bananas for some reason. I'm just like, didn't really think it through. Anyway, we went off on a tangent. So,
money is not important.
Exactly.
You're living in your double-decker bus.
And then I don't know where this came from. I think it was, again, from a supportive community growing up. But I truly felt like there's no limits to dreams and ambition and what you want to do. And I had this dream of getting this bus, had zero money, right? And I just kept on saying to everyone, I am getting a double-decker bus. I'm going to build a music studio in it.
You manifested it.
Absolutely. I didn't know of that word manifesting back then, but everyone I spoke to, and I printed these like blank bus diagrams, and I gave them out to people and be like, oh, can you help me design the bus? And they'd color in, like, would design the outside. I was like, really just like, it's happening. Every time we drove past like a bus, I would say to my friends, breathe the dream, baby. Breathe the dream.
You're calling it in.
And then one day, someone had heard about it and they were like, we want to give you £10,000 to buy the bus. So that was it. I out of nowhere, they just believed in my dream, gave me 10 grand. And again, this is important to having good community around you as well. And then, for about, I mean, that was 2017. No, sorry, that was 2007. I'm wrong a decade. That was 2007. And then I lived in that bus probably for like 4 or 5 years, doing amazing community work. Again, I could write a book about that chapter of my life.
I assume you will at some point.
It was wild. I was doing community work during the week, and then to fund my life and my work I ran it as a party bus on the weekends. And it was I don't know how I didn't get arrested, because I was driving around central London with like 30 teenagers with the sickest sound system. The sound system in the bus would set off car alarms as we were driving through London.
God.
I need to show some videos of it, but it was like, and then we would park up. I'd take the speakers outside the bus. We didn't have permission. We'd be like opposite,
like
we'd be at Houses of Parliament, like London Eye, Big Ben, and we would just be having a street party at like 2 a.m. with like, and we brought the crowd as well. So we were literally just raving on the streets.
And like the bobbies never came and like shut you down?
No, they came past sometimes and they were like interested, but they're pretty chill.
That's where the UK is.
Yeah, and you can drink on you can drink on the street in the UK. Like there's no laws around that. But anyway, it was a wild chapter of my life, and I loved it. And I think it kind of there's just so much I could say about it. But anyway, that also was like this culmination of like, this is my dream, and I want to do youth work, help young people, give them purpose, show them there's other options. And in central London, it's not as bad as the US, but like there's gang lifestyle, and like kids can get, off the tracks and get involved with bad stuff, drug dealing and violence and stuff. So I was like trying to help them in a better direction. And then I think that is when I stumbled into the next chapter of my life, which is like my YouTube chapter, which was really accidental.
When did that start?
That started in about 2011, and I was, again, it's the weirdest doorway into this world, but I was just with some friends. We were bored one night, and they joked about, oh, we should like make you eat weird things and film it, and then we'll start a YouTube channel. And it was called Food for Louis.
Food for Louis.
Yeah, so they would like, the first thing I did was down, like I like ate a ton of wasabi and I was like coughing, and then it was like I can't remember what was next. It was something, I think I bought a box of like live locusts.
Ugh.
And I'd traveled a lot by this point, and I'd eaten.
You knew what you could eat bugs
in
and stuff.
Zambia. Yeah, in Zambia they were teaching you can eat like, this is before I went vegan. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, I was eating live locusts, so I bought a box of live locust, ate that, and then basically just got more and more extreme. And I think, just to cut this story short,
So we got hours of
a couple years into that, or a year and a half into that, I was like, this isn't really achieving anything. It's not really me. It's just this weird, like, extreme thing I did as a joke.
Was it successful?
Really successful. So I got like millions and millions of views.
Does that still happen? That channel still exists?
Well, I've done some things with that channel. So anyway, yeah. So basically, I wanted a way to get out of that, but I also had seen this world open up to me of like, well, there's people living their lives, doing these amazing videos and all sorts. There's like people vlogging in their bedroom. There's people doing like comedy skits, musicians. And I was open to this world of YouTubers that I didn't know existed at that time. It's like 2010. It's like early days YouTube. So I started another channel, Fun for Louis. And I was like, I'm going to daily vlog every single day of my life. And I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to do all these crazy things. And that is what blew up and actually overtook and ended up kind of I rebranded myself basically, and that was amazing. I was really happy.
Yeah, I was just looking at your top like videos today of like the top, and you know, it's YouTube. It's like shock factor sells. Like the #1 was 10 million views on this video called "I Found a Wife," and it's a picture of you holding like a African tribeswoman.
I know, it's really controversial. If you watch the video, it's not problematic, the video, but
the video,
the thumbnail was like, I can see why people clicked it.
It's so funny. It's like, but it's true. Like sex, controversy, all those things sell. So give us some clickbait, bro. We need something. No, I'm just kidding. We're good. No, no, yeah. So that's been very successful. You're almost up to 2 million viewers. I
go up and down. I hit 2 million, then I lose some subs. I hit 2 million, I lose some subs. So I'm around 2 million. Yeah.
I was actually helping you out with something in your bus like a year ago, and you weren't here. You're like, hey, go grab this thing for me, and I'm there, and it's like, I came across like a 1 million viewer YouTube
the big plaque,
something, and I was like, I had no idea. I had no idea that you were even doing all that. Or I mean, I'd heard that you were a YouTuber, but like 1 million people, 2 million people. So congratulations, very very successful. Are you still excited about it?
Yeah, so
and you're with Raya now, who's also a YouTuber.
Yeah, so shortly after meeting Raya, I persuaded her to start a YouTube channel. This is like before we were even dating.
Talked to her. You were her inspiration.
Yeah, and I think we'd started flirting and kind of hanging out, and it was like, you know, it took a while before we were official.
Where did you meet her?
In New York. So a mutual friend set us up. Our friend Lily, and she called it. Like apparently, I messaged Lily saying, I'm in New York for 2 days. Can I crash at your house? And I didn't know of Raya. And she ran into Raya's bedroom. She's like, the guy, like this perfect guy for you is coming. Like, you guys are going to hit it off. Like, you're perfect. You'll be perfect together. So I didn't know that. So it took me a while to, like, I really vibed with Raya, but like I was not in the zone of like even thinking about relationships. Anyway, so shortly after that, I was like, you got to start a YouTube channel. Me and Raya started traveling together a bit. And then fast forward, we both had our YouTube channels. We got together. We've been together now. This summer, I think it's going to be 10 years.
And you're married?
Yeah. So then we moved into LA with some friends together. And then we started our couples channel. And on that couples channel,
which is called
Raya and Louis.
Raya and Louis.
So now we got 3 channels, own individual stuff. Raya and Louis is where we're documenting, like we got engaged. I documented the proposal, our wedding. And then like obviously starting a family.
People are just watching it, like they're sitting at home watching it like TV.
Yeah, so we're like basically documenting our life. We did a ton of traveling, and now like the next big chapter in our life is like family. So we got Neo, who's 2. We love, honestly, even if we didn't get many people viewing, it's so cool to be able to make videos. We're basically doing a video diary every week or every other week of like what we're doing.
Yeah,
and it just happens to be especially when we're here, like super exciting.
Yeah.
And in the UK, it's less exciting. We're kind of living in the suburban life, but it's so cool to be able to document.
Yeah,
what
and
we're up to.
you're also blogging about like community and
Yeah.
like building your home and what it's like to build in an live in an eco village. And
I hope with it all that we can inspire people just to think about things differently. I feel like I'm an optimist, so I hope that comes across of like, you know, looking at the bright side of life. You know, the media in general is pretty negative and dark and pessimistic, and it makes you just feel like the world's collapsing. But I like to, obviously there's some terrible stuff happening, but I do love to also just celebrate the great stuff in life and highlight the great things. And I guess you're doing that with this podcast as well.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, but you've touched on a really important aspect. It's like, yeah, all those terrible things are happening and they're worthy of our attention to some degree. But it's like, how much should we be focusing on that versus creating like, it's not about like for years I was a political activist. It was like overthrow the system.
Yeah.
And I realized like it's not about overthrowing, it's not overgrow the system. Like let's just we don't replace we just need to create something better.
Yeah, because then you're living, you're walking the walk. You're not just like shouting about what's wrong and stop doing that. Like obviously there's terrible things happening that need to stop. But yeah, let's live a solutions life that's like all
I know that you've been doing that with your channel too. I saw you did some like converting your Volkswagen bus to electric. Really, it's cool. Innovative, bro. Keep doing it.
I love it.
All right, and well, I don't know if we want to get into the whole veganism thing. I was watching Christspiracy, so they were giving out free videos, and I was like, I'm gonna check what this is all about. Not what you think it's about. It's about, you know, it's a whole rabbit hole of things. But I was surprised when I was like, hey, that's my friend Louie. Like that's our neighbor. I was telling Katie, I was like, that's our neighbor. So you used to be one of your channels, and this was maybe the Food for Louie thing.
Yes, exactly.
Was the Roadkill? You were like eating roadkill at one point?
I was eating all sorts of animals, man. I grew up big meat eater through my teens, early 20s, like just very into meat. And I did a little bit of hunting. You don't really do much hunting in the UK, but I shot birds and I didn't shoot any deer or anything. I actually decapitated a goat in Kenya.
Like just
I cut it, slit it straight.
Killed it.
Yeah. And it was
if
like,
you're gonna eat meat, man, I mean, honestly, you should be able to do
exactly.
Those things.
So I don't think I was I don't know. I think it's part of like testing, okay, you know, if I'm gonna eat, what's the difference between eating, you know, certain animals and like, why can't I eat a squirrel or a fox or whatever?
I ate squirrel once.
Yeah, and I think I really tested that to the extreme on my channel. And then I think I got to the point where I was like, I remember I was very close to eat. I was in Romania and there's a lot of wild dogs, and a dog had been killed on the road, and I was very close to eating a road-killed dog. And I was like, if I eat a dog, I think it will not go well for me online. Like I think people
you were worried about the backlash.
Yeah, but in my head, I'm like, if I'm going to eat a cow or a pig or sheep, there's no difference with eating a kitten, a dog. Like animals are animals, right? And people put personalities on their pets, and they think for some, I don't know, they put other animals in different categories. And the end of the day, and I won't bang on about a lot, but I think what I realized through it all, when I was faced to that decision, I was like, either any animals can be eaten and we are the ultimate, like we have domain, like we have like control and we can do whatever we want to animals, and we can eat them, we can enslave them, we can like do all that horrible stuff that happens that people don't want to think about to get to our meal, to our plate. Or it made me question, is any of this right, you know? And I think after watching a few of these documentaries, and I like to challenge myself, and realizing I don't need to believe this lie that protein, I have to eat meat for protein to build, like to get strong, you know?
I was just gonna say, man, you're like, you look fit, and you've been vegan for how long? A couple years at least, right?
No, longer, like 8 years now, man.
Yeah, and you're like,
and I feel like the healthiest, strongest, and now all these studies are coming about health benefits. But yeah, for me, it boils down to like compassion. And I want to be living a life that reflects compassion. And I think there's a disconnect sometimes and we don't live compassionately towards animals if we're killing them unnecessarily for food.
Yeah.
You can think of like extreme examples. Yeah, but what about tribes? What about people that live here?
Sure.
Cool. But like in Western society, with our means of getting, you know, I went down to the supermarket here. I bought some chickpeas. I bought some tofu. I bought some beans, and I cooked a big thing full of protein, right? And I'm thriving. And yeah, so that's what it came down to. So I think there was this big arc of like me going from being a staunch meat eater to seeing the light and
being a staunch vegan.
I also feel like more spiritually connected to God, or whatever you want to call God. Like I feel like there's been a blockage removed where I felt like there was this a bit of a cognitive disconnect between like my lack of compassion towards animals, even though I said I was an animal lover. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey, man.
All right.
And it's cool being part of that documentary as well.
Yeah, the Christspiracy. It's really wild, man. Yeah, I really recommend, if you haven't seen it, actually, to check it out.
Because especially if you've had like any link to Christianity in your upbringing, like it kind of shows like a whole nother side to who
things
Jesus
that
was.
I really had no clue about. Yeah.
Well,
okay. So thank you for getting clear on that. You seem very healthy, and I just think everybody, it also comes down to like that personal choice of like, how do I want to engage in this world? Everybody's doing that in every day.
Yeah.
Like what choices am I making that are going to affect the greater good? And I see that you put a lot of thought into like, how am I affecting things? I always say like, if I don't need to affect the karma of that animal, I'm not going to.
The other thing is, right, like there's so much happening in the world that's terrible that we feel completely helpless about. Like all these wars happening, all these people are dying in unnecessarily. And it's like, I have no clue how I can be a part of a solution. But for me, veganism was like, what an amazing solution to the horror that we put animals through. If me just opting out and being like, oh, this is something I can do daily that actually makes a difference, So it's like, you can pick your battles. There's so many things in the world that we can choose to have solutions against, like capitalism and like, greed and power and all these things happening. But I feel like for me, this was like such a obvious, clear, and I went overnight, man. I went like, ate meat every meal. To the next day I was like, okay, let's try. Like, let's just see if I can do it. So I recommend, if any of this is like, resonating at all with people and you're like, oh, maybe I could try that, just try it. See,
Yeah. And the thing is that you also like have to like, you can't just like not eat. You just stop eating, and there's some transition.
There's so many good resources online of like, I follow like vegan bodybuilders that are just absolutely ripped, and it shows you like, it's not about just cut the meat out and eat the veggies. It's like you can replace that protein with other stuff.
Sure. Do you supplements or anything?
Yeah, a little bit of protein powder in my smoothies in the
like
morning. Pea protein. I'm having hemp protein right now. Like, man.
Hemp.
Yeah.
Speaking of solutions, there's a lot we can do with hemp. Yeah, well, I appreciate that about you, that we're both very focused on solutions. So what else? Let's just real quick, solutions. What can we do? Go vegan. You can live in an eco village.
I mean, sharing resources within community, I think is amazing. Like, I think the main thing is shifting your mindset away from this like individualism. And I saw an amazing quote somewhere, and it was like an indigenous quote from an indigenous leader saying like, the biggest lie of the West is that we are individuals. And like, I feel like that's what I see so much around like greed and hoarding of wealth. It's all about a personal, like, I'm building me and maybe just my immediate family, and that's like this whole, it's a lack of compassion towards one another and the wider community. And how can we I've never lived in a community where you fully like pool all of your income and resources, but I almost do like that idea. I know maybe it would be really tough, but I feel at least there's ways to, I loved even so far our experience in Alegria, and it's still in the early stages of it, but if someone's moving in, it's like a moving in party, like
support those people.
30 people showed up at Pal's house to help her move all their stuff out of a container. That doesn't happen in normal society.
No.
Maybe if you're in a small village, it might, but like that was so refreshing to see. So I think that's the main shift.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. No, you hit it hit the nail on the head.
And I think what you're talking about solutions, it's like, the biggest things that are rising right now in the Western world, at least, are like loneliness, depression. So many like younger kids as well. Like it's the biggest killer of like a men under 30, I think, suicide. So it's like there's something not working in current modern Western society, right? And I think it's the lack of community, the disconnect. And that's what we're finding solutions for.
That's what it was. You just reminded me. I was like, what was there something? I was something on the tip of my tongue. It was the thing. I've talked to people in Mendocino. Like I used to live in Mendocino, California. There was a lot of communes there in the 70s. Some of them, I heard a lot of stories about like pure socialist experiments, like pool the resources, see what happens. I think there's and the farm the farm is an old eco village in the United States, one of the oldest. Like I've spent a lot of time there, like talking with those people, kids that grew up there, parents and stuff. There is, I think, a balance of like having some individual sense of identity and having your home. But hey, man, if you want to go live in a commune, like you should do it. But I will say, like, I think that those things, from my discussions with people, that has a bit of a shelf life because at some point,
maybe it's just a chapter for people.
At some point, yeah, exactly. At some point, like you desire to, I feel like these people they're inevitably, they wanted to have some form of
autonomy. Yeah, I get it.
That's why I like this model here, because we all have our own individual, like, you live right across the street.
Yeah.
I can call you anytime. You come over, I come over, whatever. You need help, I can come. It's like, you're right there.
But the difference here as well, Takatau, Ecovilla, and Alegria, maybe other communities, it's like there's communal spaces where people gather, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like most villages, I mean, I guess you might have the town hall or whatever, but people aren't using it like that. So it's like, I think, although we've got our own houses, it does feel like it feels so different to me. Like how amazing, everyone's hanging out every day. There's multiple parties happening a week. Like,
we party.
Potlucks every week.
We party and potluck a lot.
And everyone's gonna, with the amount of people that are gonna be living there, like there's gonna be multiple birthday parties every week. So it's gonna be amazing.
I do sometimes. I have to tone it down. I'm like, I don't know if I can make them all.
The other thing I find interesting, and I get feedback from my videos, is introverts are like, that sounds my worst nightmare. But it's all opt-in.
Yeah.
And I think also people think that being surrounded by community would be horrific if you don't like socializing. But I feel like I would challenge that and be like, you can be introverted. I love time by myself as well. Like I like both, but maybe I'm an amnivert or whatever you call it, amnivert. But
amnivert.
It's like both,
extrovert,
right?
and introvert.
I'm at different times, right? But I do think there's something so critical. I don't think it's just a personality thing. I think it's critical for everyone to have good community around them. It doesn't mean you have to be hanging out with people 24/7, but I think it's so important for people's mental health and spiritually, and just like, and also having that connection with people with different viewpoints. Like it stops you getting in that bubble, right? You're like, I love the amount of different spiritual beliefs and viewpoints in the world.
Yeah, no, I get into a lot of conversations with people about like, everyone's got a totally different perspective when they come here. Like it's definitely not like, one of my friends who's an Alegria member, she's not here, and we have to wrap it up because we're running out of time. You and me could keep going. But like,
maybe we do part 2 with Ryan next year.
Part 2 with Ryan. No, we'll definitely do it with Ryan Neo if he wants to. And little.
Don't know yet.
Oh, you haven't named the
No, we need to figure out a name. If you got any suggestions, I don't know when this podcast's going out.
Crowdfund the name. No, she's just like, like, I'm afraid everyone's gonna believe this. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. This place, people, the one thing that we all have in common here is the desire to do something better. Yeah. And we all come from like, there's liberals, there's conservatives, there's hardcore meat eaters, there's vegans, there's religious people from all different religions.
Yeah, there's like atheists, Buddhists, like New Age, Christian. I've met everyone here. It's really cool. I love it.
Yeah. So, well, anyways. So what's next? Let's just quickly.
So next big chapter is the baby is coming. The rest of the year is going to be like locking down, just figuring out how to have a toddler and a baby. And our housemates, because we're living in community in the UK, they're also due a baby the following month. So we're going to have 2 newborns and a 2-year-old in the house. It's going to be crazy, but I love it. I'm embracing that. Just before that happens, I'm doing my last big adventure. I'm driving an electric moped from Italy to Bulgaria, and I've got this big solar trailer, and I'm charging it fully solar powered. I tried to do it last year. I only made it 300 miles.
Wait, a fully solar powered, what, the moped?
Yep. So I'm going to stop and charge it. I have 1,800 watts of like flexible panels that I'm going to like lay out, charge up the moped, drive. I'm trying to do 1,000 miles in 10 days.
Good God.
You know, it's an experiment. It's more of a comedy adventure. I kind of like see it as a comedy adventure, but I'm going to be like wild camping. I've got like a little stove. I've got these like dehydrated vegan meals. I'm going to be like in a tent in a random field in like Croatia, like in the mountains. So it's going to be a wild 10-day adventure. And then I fly back. Hopefully Raya doesn't have the baby early. And then we're just bunkering down. I've got a few other little projects I can do from home, but really the next chapter's family life. Obviously we'll be coordinating with the build happening here.
Yep.
And then the next, other than the baby, the next big chapter's moving here and finishing the house and coming to Costa Rica, man.
Family and community, bro.
Yes, bro.
If people want to follow your adventure, where can they follow it?
I mean, most consistent content is on our YouTube channel, Raya and Louie. And then I've got Fun for Louie is where I'll be documenting the road trip in the moped and stuff like that. But follow along. And then my Instagram's Louie Cole.
Louie Cole.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Louie, thank you so much,
It's been
brother.
a pleasure, man.
Thank you so much. This is La Vida Verde Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human. We release episodes every so often now. We're not doing every Tuesday anymore. If you want to see more episodes, please go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde Podcast to support this podcast so we can get more episodes. And I want to say thank you to Ecoteas Yerba Mate and also to the Alegria Kajukembo Martial Arts Club, offering core training in Kajukembo with guest instructors in Kung Fu, Aikido, Capoeira, and more. Thank you to Sensei Nzinga. And you can catch us on Instagram at Vida Verde CR. We're on YouTube. Vida Verde, La Vida Verde Podcast. We're on, I haven't done this in so long, Facebook, Vida Verde, and fincavitaverde.com. And we'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you so much, Louie. It's been great, brother.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, bro.
Yeah. Thanks to our producer, Yvonne. Ciao.